Do your podcast episodes, do they ever feel like they're just wandering, leaving you and maybe your listeners feeling a bit lost?
Oh, absolutely. It's such a common thing. You put all this work in, right? Researching, recording.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just doesn't quite hang together, doesn't feel focused.
Right. Not as impactful as you hoped.
And that's a real challenge, especially now. I mean, the podcasting space is crowded. If your show feels scattered, listeners,
Yeah.
well, they have a lot of other options. They might just tune out.
Exactly. So that's what we're tackling in this deep dive. We're calling it Your Podcast Feels Scattered. This 5-part system fixes that fast.
Good title.
We think so. And we're going to lay out this proven 5-part structure. It's designed to take those, sometimes jumbled ideas and really shape them.
Shape them into something cohesive.
Cohesive, clear, compelling.
Yeah.
Something that makes people actually want to keep listening to your insights.
And it's more than just like tidying up. This structure is really about the listener's experience, wouldn't you say?
Totally. When an episode flows logically, it's just easier for people to follow along, to grasp the key ideas, and ultimately to feel like, okay, yeah, that was time well spent. They got value.
Right. They feel respected.
So over the next little while, we'll break down these 5 parts. We'll look at grabbing attention right at the start.
The hook?
Setting the stage, making that promise of value.
Managing expectations.
Structuring the main content so it actually engages people.
Keeps them locked in.
Why recapping is so important for making things stick.
Reinforcement, yeah.
And then finally, how to guide listeners towards what you want them to do next.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to turn those potentially rambling recordings into really focused audio lessons that connect, let's dive in.
Okay, let's unpack this. Part 1, the teaser. Or some people call it the cold open.
Right.
The goal here is, well, it's pretty straightforward but vital. Grab attention. Like immediately.
Instantly, yeah. It's like the opening shot of a film,
Sure.
It doesn't give the whole plot away, but it shows you something intriguing enough that you think, okay, I need to see where this goes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the job of the teaser in a podcast. Cut through all the noise, make someone stop scrolling.
Make them think, what's this?
And it has to be quick, right? Like super short.
Yeah, 15, maybe 30 seconds tops.
Yeah.
You're zeroing in on the most interesting nugget of what's coming up.
Creating that little bit of anticipation.
And talking directly to the listener about what they get out of it.
That brevity, it forces you to be really focused, doesn't it?
It really does. No time for pleasantries or long intros there.
Yeah.
It's just a concentrated shot of intrigue. Makes them want more.
And here's a useful tip, I think. Often, the best teasers. You write them after you've actually planned the whole thing out.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Once you know the core insights, the really compelling moments.
Then you know what to tease.
Exactly. You have a much better handle on what will genuinely hook someone who doesn't know anything about the deep dive yet. Maybe start with a provocative question that came up in your research.
Or a surprising fact or statistic.
Right. Then hint briefly at the value, the payoff.
And then smooth transition into the main intro.
Yeah. Like, imagine you said something like, what if the key to understanding, say, climate finance lies somewhere totally unexpected?
Okay.
Value preview. Today, we uncover this hidden link that might just redefine how you think about it. Transition. Stay with us as we explore the surprising connection between, micro-lending and large-scale green bonds. Something like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That works. It sparks curiosity, right? Hints at something new.
Exactly. Poses a question, hints at a fresh angle, makes you want to know that connection. So, the big takeaway for the teaser. It's your first, maybe your best chance to make a really strong case for why someone should invest their time.
Don't waste those first few seconds.
Definitely not.
Okay, moving on. Part 2. The introduction and promise. So you've hooked them with the teaser. Now what?
Now you set the stage properly. This is where you give context and really clearly spell out the value proposition. What are you, the listener, going to gain from sticking around for this deep dive?
Yeah, it's about building that trust, orienting them.
Making sure they know what this specific exploration is all about. Setting clear expectations. It's like a little agreement, almost.
So what goes into a good intro? There are a few key bits.
Well, you've got your standard show intro first, usually.
Right, the consistent stuff, show name, maybe who we are, the overall purpose of the deep dive.
That branding piece helps regulars feel at home. But then you need to pivot fast to this specific deep dive.
Yes, the episode-specific intro. State the main topic we're digging into, based on our sources.
Explain why it's relevant, why now.
Uh-huh. And maybe give a little preview of the key insights we're aiming to uncover.
And critically, especially for listeners who are here to learn, you have to spell out the benefits explicitly.
What knowledge will you walk away with? How might this change your perspective?
What's the payoff?
Yeah.
You got to connect those dots for them. Make it obvious why this deep dive is worth their time.
And there's a neat little framework for structuring this part sometimes. The and, but, therefore method. ABT.
Ah, yes, the ABT. It's simple, but really effective.
How does it work again?
You start by establishing some common ground, some context, the and. Then you introduce a problem, attention, a question, the but.
Okay.
And then you position your deep dive as the solution or the answer, the therefore.
Gotcha. So it sets up the need for the information right away.
Precisely. Creates relevance. For example,
Mm-hmm.
many people are trying to understand the shifts in the global economy right now, and they read headlines every day. But it's often hard to see the bigger picture or connect the dots between different events. Therefore, in this deep dive, we've analyzed reports from 3 major economic forums to give you a clearer, synthesized understanding of the underlying trends.
Yeah, I see how that works. It identifies a common frustration, the but, and positions our analysis as the way through it, the therefore.
Super effective for signaling value quickly.
Hmm.
So, yeah, the key for the intro: be direct, state the topic and why it matters now, and really spell out the benefits for the listener. Why should you keep listening?
Makes sense. Okay, so teaser done, intro and promise set. Now we get into the meat of it. Part 3. Core content in labeled segments. This is where we deliver the goods, right? The insights from our deep dive.
Exactly. And the name of the game here is organization. We've likely pulled together a lot of information from our sources, maybe complex stuff.
Yeah.
We need to present it so it's not overwhelming, so it's digestible, engaging.
And breaking it down into clear segments is the way to go.
Totally. Think of them as like chapters in our exploration. Each one needs a clear headline or theme. Maybe something that hints at the benefit or the key insight in that section.
Okay. And within each segment,
focus on just a few key points drawn from the sources, and crucially, bring those points to life. Use specific details, anecdotes, maybe even short quotes or examples from the material we analyzed.
right, that makes it less abstract, more memorable.
Way more memorable.
Yeah.
And it helps the listener really connect with the findings.
And we need to think about flow, right? How we move from one segment to the next. Can't just jump around.
No, definitely not. You need those verbal transitions, little signposts. Things like, okay, building on that idea, let's now look at, or another perspective that really stood out in the sources was.
Or this brings us to a critical point mentioned in the X report, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. They guide the listener, show how the pieces fit together, how the argument is building.
And should each segment kind of wrap up on its own?
It's a good idea. A mini takeaway for each section. What's the one thing you really want the listener to grasp from this part of the discussion before moving on?
That helps focus the learning. And you mentioned planning, like having a little template for each segment.
Yeah, it helps. Like for each segment, think, what's the clear headline? What are the 3-5 key points? What's a good supporting example or detail? What's the main takeaway or action step for this segment? And then, how do I transition smoothly to the next one?
That seems really practical. It caters to that listener desire for, real knowledge and those aha moments.
Right, and maybe aiming for, say, 3 to 5 main segments in the core content is usually a pretty good balance. Enough depth, but not too sprawling.
Okay, so the big idea for part 3 is structure. Break down the main analysis into logical, clearly signposted chunks. It prevents overwhelm, keeps people engaged, and helps them see the progress.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, so we've guided the listener through the core analysis. Now, part 4, recap and takeaway. Why is this step so important?
Because listening is often passive, right? People might be multitasking. This is where you help them lock in the most important stuff. You reinforce the key insights.
It's like underlining the main points in your notes.
Exactly. Making sure the core message from our deep dive actually sticks. So, you provide a concise summary. What were the absolute must-know findings? The most significant insights we discussed.
And maybe connect it back to the initial promise we made in the intro.
Yeah, definitely. Remind them of the journey. We set out to understand X.
And here's what we found.
Right. And highlight any key implications or maybe broader understandings that came out of digging into those sources.
So how do we structure this recap effectively?
Keep it brief. Aim for maybe the top 3 to 5 key takeaways, the absolute essentials from your exploration.
Listing them out clearly.
Yeah, that can work well. Something like, okay, so summing up our deep dive today on topic, the main things to remember are 1, key point. 2, key point. And 3, perhaps the biggest insight was key point.
Nice and clean.
It just solidifies the learning. It makes sure listeners don't just hear the analysis, but they actually retain the core value. It really boosts the overall impact.
Got it. So, the takeaway for the recap. Be concise. Focus ruthlessly on the most critical insights from the sources and remind listeners of the value they gained.
Perfect.
And that brings us to the final piece, part 5. Call to action and sign off.
Right. The what next. This is where we guide the listener towards some kind of next step, keep them engaged beyond just this one deep dive.
Because we don't want the conversation or the learning to just end.
Exactly. We want to encourage continued interaction or exploration. And the best way to do that, usually a single, clear call to action.
Just one, not like 5 different things.
Generally, yeah. Too many options can lead to inaction. Pick the one primary thing you'd like them to do next, related to this deep dive.
Okay. And we need to tell them why, right? What's the benefit for them?
Absolutely. And make the instructions dead simple. Super easy to follow. The less friction, the better.
So what kind of things could we ask them to do?
Could be anything relevant. Maybe point them to further reading if we touched on complex research. Suggest they check out a related resource we mentioned. Or even just encourage them to reflect on how the insights apply to their own context.
And then we wrap up with our standard show closing.
Yeah, that consistent outro helps build familiarity. Listeners know the show is ending. They know what to expect.
So best practices for this CTA: focus on one thing.
Make it easy.
Explain the value clearly.
Keep instructions simple.
And use consistent language in our sign-off from one deep dive to the next.
You got it. That consistency helps build that relationship with the audience. A good CTA provides direction and encourages that ongoing connection.
Right. So takeaway for part 5. Clear, specific action, easy instructions, obvious value.
Nailed it. And, consistently using this whole 5-part system, it just gives you a reliable roadmap.
Yeah, a framework.
A framework for creating these deep dives that are actually engaging, that deliver value clearly. It leads to a better listening experience, helps people stick around.
Makes the whole thing feel more polished and authoritative, too.
It really does.
Okay, great stuff. So as you, our listener, think about putting together your own content, maybe your next podcast episode, really consider the structure. Think. What is the absolute core message, the number one insight you want someone to walk away with from your analysis? And then how can you use this 5-part system, the teaser, the intro and promise, those structured core segments, the recap, and the clear call to action? How can you use all that to make sure that single message lands powerfully and, keeps them eager for your next deep dive?